Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Wells. First off, I want to thank you all for coming. Honestly, it's a school day at 3 o'clock, and I thought, apart from my parents and like some of the MSPF employees, I thought I'd be speaking to empty chairs. So I'm very happy to see your faces. And I also want to thank my parents for coming down from West Palm Beach. I think the last time I let you see me speak in public, I was in 5th grade. I was the moderator in the school debate in the auditorium. So I used to be a lawyer. I still am technically, but I don't practice. And I thought I would talk about my journey. It's really of self-discovery, of going from an attorney to a photographer, and what I learned about myself along the way, and how what I learned really parallels the same journey I took with my photography, how it's evolved. And it's really about peeling back that proverbial onion. So, let's see if this works. This represents how I felt as an attorney. That man is me. And first of all, he walked into my photo he didn't even know I was there. He was so stressed out and in his own world. He's serious, all work and no play, and everyone around him seemingly is having way more fun than he is, and he doesn't even notice. That's how I felt. So I practiced corporate law for 16 years. I worked in various investment banks as in-house counsel, and while I didn't enjoy most aspects of the legal part, it did satisfy some of my needs. One of them, financial security, which is a big one. And then the other one was that it satisfied this intellectual challenge of taking a lot of information, sifting through it, organizing it, and then extracting the most essential elements to make the strongest point possible, which I realized is exactly the same thing as photography. And it also gave me a sense of identity. I don't know if this is going to make sense to everyone, but I was what I did. I was a lawyer. I didn't have to, and I fit in very nicely into society. I didn't have to go deeper than that. And you know how they say when you're 5 years old and you loved certain things, if you go back to that place, that's probably still relevant. And when I was a kid, I loved everything artistic. I loved music and painting and drawing and writing and making things with my hands. But I knew you can't get a real job doing that stuff. So I just kind of kept that way down. And if I took the lid off, I was going to have to face some stuff I didn't want to face. So it was just easier to just go about being a lawyer. But that dissatisfaction was gnawing at me. And sorry, the scales of justice, I can't help it. A lawyer will always be one. My left brain was getting a lot of attention, so the linear, logical part was fully on, but I was out of balance. And then I took a trip overseas. I was going to take a trip overseas, so I thought that I should probably learn how to take pictures. So I took a intro to photography class. And it rekindled something in me. And I just started to pay attention to my surroundings. I was just the colors, observing, being present, watching people. And I fell in love with it. And there was a joy present. So I started walking to work every morning, 45 minutes a day, and I would photograph on the way. And I would just look at the colors and shapes, and I was really attracted to bold, graphic kind of scenes. And then I didn't even know I was doing street photography. So this man's hair with, the synchronicity of the flowers behind him, how it mimics his hair. I thought this was a masterpiece. I didn't know that. I thought I was the only one that saw the world this way, these visual jokes and juxtapositions. again, I didn't even know what street photography was. So in my own world, I am like, wow, this is great. And I showed my friends who knew nothing about this kind of photography, so they thought it was great too. So I was living in this little bubble, and I was very happy. But the key is that I was really enjoying myself and getting out of bed. I was looking forward to doing that and taking this walk to work every day. So I was connecting the right side of my brain, the artistic, more intuitive, heart-centered side, and I felt a lot more in balance, and I was just a lot happier. So fast forward about 7 years, a lot happened in between, but suffice to say, I quit my job. It's a long story, I'm not going to get into it, but I had a little health scare, and I realized intuitively that the stress from my job was contributing to my poorer health. So within 2 weeks, I was out of there. And I was more afraid to stay than leave. And then a few years after that, I continued to photograph. I was making money doing events and other kinds of photography, but this was the photography I loved. So I had my first portfolio review, and this is one of the photos that I presented. And one of the reviewers hated this photo. He thought it was cliche, the bikini models against the scruffy homeless man. And he thought it was exploitative because this guy was homeless. And I found myself defending this photo more than any of the others. And I couldn't understand why until many months later. I felt something when I took this photo, which, by the way, does not make a good photo when you feel something. That gets in the way sometimes. But even afterwards, this man, there was something, I thought his eyes, he was very soulful. The point was, I felt something, and I wanted to feel when I photographed. When I looked at a photograph, I wanted to feel something. So that kind of got stored in the back of my brain. And I wanted to connect more. I wanted to go deeper with my photography, but I didn't know how. So someone recommended, well, get a wider lens and get closer and just take more photographs, and you'll figure it out. And the next day I put on a wide lens, and I would walk around as I did, and it took me 5 months till I got a photo that I liked again. And so this was a set of photos. I'll just go through a few of them. They were 2 boys, 2 brothers, and a dog in Union Square. And their dad was with them. And I don't ask permission when I photograph. So the fact that I was there for about an hour and the father never asked me what I was doing, the kids, they ignored me. That's never happened to me again, but that's the best feeling as a photographer, to be like a fly on the wall. And when I got home, I just felt something again. There was this, by the way, I converted everything to black and white, where I was all into color before. But it was this simplicity of 2 brothers playing. And I realized that this was saying something about me. I adore children, and I knew that before I started taking photos. But there was an innocence, the playfulness, which was a reminder for me to be playing more and not be so serious. And I envy siblings that get along, because my brother and I, to this day, we can go at it. And so this to me was something that I longed for, and I just found so poignant. So my photography was I was starting to get connected, my photos were starting to get connected to the more heart-centered right brain side. And then I didn't, what do? You can't look for these moments. You just have to keep going and see what you find and look at what you're attracted to. So then I started seeing this kind of stuff, which I was starting to develop more of a compositional style. I'm very into triangles, if you can see them. It's all very unconscious, but. So everything's very orderly. All the subjects are lined up. That's that lawyer in me. You know, the multi-layers filling the frame. Everything has its place. And then this is just a quick story about how accidents can be gifts. I was in Central Park and I saw this and I went to lift the camera to my eye, and this arm, the girl attached to this arm was not supposed to be in the photo, but she saw me and she went to push this girl out of the way because she thought that she was in the way of my photo. And I was so pissed. And I don't know, those of you who are photographers here, I get so angry, like, this is my scene, they're my subjects, and they're screwing it up. But when I got home, I saw this and it made the photo so much better. It's a static photo and she breaks up the pattern, there's an energy there. So, let go of your expectations. Sometimes if you just let it go, things happen. And then again, everything's lined up. Every part of the frame has a purpose. But this is all composition for me. It's not saying, I'm not feeling so much from this. And Gary Winograd, for those who know him, he was an amazing photographer, very prolific. And he talked a lot about form versus content and how there's a battle between the two in every photo. And I would say that form was winning the battle in these sets of pictures. So again, my photos, this is now the left side, the linear organizational part of things. And then I got to Coney Island and everything changed for me. So this was one of the first photos that I liked when I went to Coney Island. By the way, I went there, I wasn't expecting to take photographs. I was just going to get away. I didn't think there was anything interesting I could find in Coney Island because everyone has done it a million times. But it's become my playground and it's like my happy place. So whenever I'm down or feeling frustrated photographically, I'll just go there. And whether I get a photo or not, I come back with a huge grin on my face. So this photo for me it's got the organization, everything is lined up. These two women over here are balancing out the woman on the other side of the bench. Everyone in the background is looking up. They're all vertical. You've got these horizontal lines breaking the pattern. You have this dog over here looking up. I mean, you can't make that up. And then you have this dog who's mimicking its owner's feelings, looking bored. So I felt something when I saw this photo after I took it. And I was starting, at least in my own mind, to merge the content and the form. And anyone know Richard Sandler here? He's an incredible street photographer. He's an incredible photographer, and he just put out a book called The Eyes of New York. You have to get it, it's amazing, or look at it. I was at his book signing a few weeks ago, and the man who was interviewing him, Jules Allen, who's also a great photographer, was talking about how the two of them made up their own lingo, and they would say, we went from depth of field, for the non-photographers, that's a photography term, to depth of feeling. So I thought I would just steal that, and I really liked that. And then, so yeah, I think I was starting to balance out those two parts of my brain in some way. And my mantra became, fill the frame, tell a story, because that's what I was trying to do unconsciously. And so, like lawyering, I was taking all that information sifting through it, organizing it, and trying to just put the most pertinent elements. I can't say I'm successful all the time, but that's what I'm trying to do, whether it's conscious or not. And by the way, this photo came in third last year at this festival, and if I hadn't taken this, I would not be here right now. And I also somebody connected me on Instagram with this guy on the right. So now I know who he is, because I never know who's in my photos. I never talk to them. So in theory, we're friends now. And I'll just go through a few of these. Also, I wanted to say that I never like to tell the story that I see in a photo, because it can screw it up for the viewer. The viewer should be participating. I shouldn't be telling them what to see. And this is a perfect example for any of you who know Bob Patterson, who is the founder of Street Photography magazine. He was interviewing me last year after this photo festival, and we were talking about this photo, and he said, I just love this photo. He thought it was an overweight adult man struggling to scale the wall. And when I told him it was an 8-year-old boy who was playing, it was such a buzzkill for him. So I still want to send him a print of this, but I don't know if he appreciates it anymore. Sometimes it's nice not to talk about them and just look at them. And then after Coney Island, I just continued to hunt around for photos around New York City. This is a Brazil day in New York, in Midtown in New York. Typical New York scene. This guy sets up his office in the subway station, just oblivious to the world, and this couple as well, oblivious while everyone else is trying to run to the train. So they say there are two types of photographers. The ones who know beforehand what they're trying to say, and they go out looking for that. And then there are the other ones who just go out, and when they get home, they learn what they're trying to say. And I am definitely the latter. So the photos are reporting back to me something about myself, and it's like a mirror. And when you start to see repetitions of the same things you're shooting over and over, I suggest you pay attention. So the children just keep showing up in my photos. And anyone who knows me knows how much I adore children. And I'm attracted to childhood in both for good and bad. I think it's this magical time, but also a scary time. So here you've got all the adults who are just drained of life, and you've got this girl who's playing. She's completely uninhibited. She's full of joy. And that, to me, is what peeling this onion has been about. It's like getting back to that core of what really inspired me as a kid. And I think a lot of us in society tend to lose that. So this is such a reminder to me, never lose that childlike part of yourself. This photo, just as an aside, I don't know if you can read what it says on this this homeless woman's little piece of paper. It says, "I've seen UFOs." So, and again, I am not thinking of these stories or anything when I am taking this photo. It's all unconscious. But this, to me, it's like the end of innocence. All these, her sister, her mother, and all the rest of them are looking away. They don't even notice this woman here. And she, through the corner of her eye, is discovering something that was really rattling her. This is just in Harlem. I guess people were waiting to be picked up by, I don't know, someone. It used to be on a stoop, people played with each other, and now they're on their little gadgets. Again, she's just kind of by herself, and I don't know what this is, but I'm really attracted to this girl. And when I was young, I was really shy when I was really little, and I was afraid of authority and adults. My third grade teacher used to call on me, and Mrs. Schatzoff, and she said, "Why do you always turn red when I call on you?" And there was something about the adult world that was just overwhelming to me, and this kind of hit that for me. This cigarette, it's dangerous, it's all these hands guarding everything. This, again, end of innocence. And there's something that tends to happen to girls around 9, 10 years old where they lose their confidence. It's a generalization, but this reminded me of that a little bit. It's like a wilting flower somehow. And I call this Daddy's Girl, and for anyone who knows me, I would definitely say that I am Daddy's Girl. So I was going to wrap up everything at this point, but now there's a new chapter. I was helping Richard Calvar today in his class, and if you don't know him, you must get to know him. He is amazing, and he's very understated. He looked at my work unexpectedly, and I wasn't going to tell this part because it doesn't make a good end of the story, but so this is where I am now. I feel like I've definitely honed my voice or discovered a part of it, and visually I know how to put together a photo, and I'm starting to learn what I'm attracted to, what makes me feel in a photograph, which to me is so important. Whether or not you feel something when you look at someone else's photograph, it doesn't matter as much as when you have to love this photograph. It's not what everybody else thinks, because if you do it for everyone else, you're going to get lost. So I'm starting to really get comfortable with that, but I've been at this plateau lately, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I had some people whose opinion photographically I really respect, and they couldn't help me. They just said, "Oh, you're just being impatient, the photos will come." I felt like I wanted to go deeper, but I didn't know what that meant. And Richard Calvar today asked if I wanted to share some of my photos with the class because we had extra time. And I said, sure. And I didn't say a word. And in 60 seconds, he pinpointed exactly what I have been trying to get to for the last year and a half. And I was blown away. I went to Veronica after, and I was like, oh my God. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you never get there, and you should never want to get there. It's great when you discover something new and you're like, wow, I've reached a new level, but it doesn't ever stop. It shouldn't. It's like life. You keep peeling back till, you have to, what is it, evolve or die, or grow, or something like that. So that's what I would like to end this with. And I hope maybe next year I'll have something new to say, that this will be starting a new chapter. And I just want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes by Jim Jarmusch, the film director. I'll read it for those of you who don't want to read the screen. "Nothing is original. Steal from anywhere that resonates with inspiration or fuels your imagination. Devour old films, new films, music, books, paintings, photographs, poems, random conversations, dreams, architecture, bridges, street signs, trees, clouds, bodies of water, light and shadows. Select only things to steal from that speak directly to your soul. If you do this, your work and theft will be authentic. Authenticity is invaluable. Originality is non-existent. And don't bother concealing your thievery. Celebrate it if you feel like it. In any case, always remember what Jean-Luc Godard said. It's not where you take things from, it's where you take them to. Thank you.